Anybody who wants to join us is very welcome. There are 3 seats available. And I see we've got Pamela Windle subscribed. So if you want to join us, you're very, very welcome. And if there's anything that you want to type in the comments bar, you're very, very welcome. So first of all, just to introduce myself, I am a fertility coach and therapist. I'm based in Ireland and I'm a former nurse and midwife. And I help people who are going through the whole infertility roller coaster. So that is everything from preparing them for what IVF is all about, or to get their best from NAPRO, dealing with all the road bumps on the way, and being able to point them in the right directions and help with relationship issues as well. All the things that happen. For instance, if somebody needs to shed some weight, I will help them with hypnotherapy. I use mindfulness. And I am, of course, a trained psychotherapist. So I incorporate elements of cognitive behavioral therapy, and it is tailored for the individual because everybody's story is different, isn't it? So anybody who'd like to join in now, please do. I'm hoping that Sheila will be with us shortly because Sheila is a former midwife who has put together the most wonderful free online resource. It is My Fertility Specialist magazine, and you can click to subscribe on myfertilityspecialist.com, I think. Anyway, Sheila will give us all the details, but every month it covers a huge breadth of what people go through on the infertility spectrum. It incorporates medically accurate information about treatments and schedules, and about what you can do yourself to boost your natural fertility. It includes stories from real life people and a schedule of events of support groups and whatever else. Sheila, I see you've joined us. Welcome aboard. I've just been talking about My Fertility Specialist. This is a little bit of an action replay. So Sheila, we meet again.
Hi guys, sorry, I have problems with my computer just now.
Hi Sheila, welcome aboard. Can you hear me okay?
I can, yes. Can you hear me okay?
Perfect, yes. We get the housekeeping out of the way. I'm recording now, you know. And you'll also be able to watch yesterday's one on replay or rewind. So that is not lost. You'll find it at the top. You can check back. So how are you today?
Yes, yeah, very good, thank you. How are you?
Fine indeed, very busy. I'm on a lunch break now. I've been nibbling a very, very, very nice rosy apple.
Oh, good for you.
Nice and crunchy. I think apples are great. So I see we've got Martha aboard as well. Hi, Martha. Welcome aboard. Would you like to tell us a little bit about yourself? You can introduce yourself in the comments section, and then hopefully we'll have people to join. Did you say that, have you been able to get hold of anybody else, or was it really short notice?
Yeah, no, I couldn't get hold of anyone else. I know Lorraine, I don't think she's on Twitter, and Mandy, I did send her a tweet about 20 minutes ago, but yeah, sorry.
Now that you've got the, what do you call it, you've got the hang of Blab so beautifully, you can schedule Blabs anytime. It's great. And, you know, isn't it a lovely way of connecting? We had Pearl on yesterday, and it was really good to meet her and hear what she had to say. So just to recap a little bit, can you just tell me again, just a little bit about yourself, your journey, your background, and why you started this fantastic free online magazine?
All right, yeah, I will try and keep it a bit short. Anyone says, tell me your story, and like, you know, we're still sitting here an hour later. No, I started trying to have a baby quite late. I was 40. My husband's 11 years younger than me, so obviously he wasn't quite as ready as perhaps I was. So long story short, we tried, nothing happened, went to the GP, finally got suggested that we saw a fertility consultant. My background was nursing and midwifery, so you'd think I'd know a little bit more, but when it actually comes to you, it's just completely different. It's completely different. And of course, you know, being a midwife, I actually was there when the babies were born. I did deliver 40 odd babies, but you know, it's a bit different. So we had unexplained, did IUI, didn't work, did ICSI with PDD when it was quite new, so that was about 10 or so years ago. That didn't work, and we just then left it. It was unexplained. We thought, well, people do get pregnant when they're 41, 42. So made a few lifestyle changes, cut out on the alcohol, tried to cut down on the stress as you do. And then I think I got to 45 and we thought, oh, sorry, I also did acupuncture, Chinese medicine, etc. And still hadn't worked. So we decided, well, maybe we do need help. So in the end, we decided to go to Spain, combine it with a holiday, and lived ICSI there. And lo and behold, I got pregnant. We were shocked, to say the least. But unfortunately, I ended in miscarriage at about 7 weeks just before Christmas. And I went into research overdrive on early miscarriage and then implantation failure, and looked into if I had any immune or blood clotting issues. There's a family history of blood clots on my mother's side. Nothing came back. It was all normal, which was good in a way, but not good because I wanted answers. But the doctor said that when we did our next cycle, I could do the drugs that a woman would take if she did have issues. So I took those drugs. The clinic were happy with that. We went back to Spain, did ICSI again, and now I have a 4.5-year-old daughter. So whether those drugs had anything to do with it, we'll never know. But if you believe in immune or blood clotting issues and fertility, then that's great. If you don't, that's also great, because it's quite a controversial area. And as I say, we'll never know, because I'm not doing it again.
Well, congratulations. So you're a busy mom now, but I think it's wonderful that you have put all your knowledge, and I suppose the important thing from my perspective is, medically accurate knowledge, because there is so much on the internet and it's quite bewildering for so many people. I'm a fertility coach, as I call myself now, because again, I'm a former midwife as well. And we did a lot of preconceptual care, actually. I trained down in Plymouth, and it really piqued my interest in, I suppose, preparing for healthy pregnancies. But the sense of the way you have gathered so much, and the way you keep your magazine so fresh and so dynamic. And I think, the true life stories, people's struggles, then all the meetups, the support groups, and really, really good information. And it's such a broad breadth, and it is a breath of fresh air as well. So, if you have a copy there to just show what it looks like in real life. And I know that it's online, which is fine. You don't have to have a copy lying around in your handbag or something for people to see either. So you've got the best of both worlds. So what's in this issue, Sheila?
The August issue's just gone out, and the next issue will be November. I have to rack my brains now, having to remember, because when I've just left the August issue, I'm now thinking about the next one.
Yeah, I'm chuffed to be included, because I've been in 2 of the issues.
And I hope you're going to be in many more as well. As you said about the magazine, I mean, my reason for putting the magazine together was when I was going through it all. I just spent fortunately we had our own business, so I could sort of go on the internet, and the boss, my husband, didn't have a go at me, but I just found I was just on the internet every night, every second. And as you say, there's a lot of stuff on there that isn't truthful. And how do you when you're so into getting pregnant, how do you possibly get the rubbish away from what is truth? And I know there was a magazine around at that time, but I couldn't find it anywhere. So last year I looked into putting the magazine together, contacted people, would they be willing to help out writing it, and also is it what people wanted? Because I would have been what I wanted, and I didn't see why, just because it's a fertility magazine, it shouldn't look nice. It shouldn't, look like something that we're ashamed of, because I was never ashamed of my infertility. It was just one of those things. I haven't done anything wrong, and nobody should ever.
Yeah, I just to stop you there, that the feeling of shame or taboo or secrecy around infertility issues. In fact, I don't even like the word infertility. And back when I began all of this, it was the most awful word in the world, was sterility. which is really, really bleak. So I think the idea of fertility issues is as far as I'll ever go. And it's like, you are not infertile. You just haven't had a child yet. Yeah. And, you know, there's so much that can be done. So I do love the idea that you're just saying there, Sheila, about your magazine looks wonderful. It's inviting, it's warm, it's a proper magazine. And I think that is something really special and lovely. So anyway, continue there.
Yeah, sorry. So basically the only, you know, I wanted to help people. I think we said before that when you are sort of got a nursing background, and this doesn't exclude anyone else from being empathetic and helpful, but I think it's something that was in me. And because I talk so freely about it, I've never, as I said, not spoken, because I used to think, well, okay, if I speak to that person in Tesco's about it, they might know. They might actually be a fertility doctor. They might know something I don't. So the only way I could think of, because I like the research side of things, I like writing, was to put a magazine together. And we got some good, very, very good response when we put a survey out on Fertility Friends. Over 90% said they would want a magazine like that. It is online just at the moment, purely because it costs a fortune to print it off and send it out. But we did send this copy out to clinics and then contacted them all, and they all said it was received so well. Can you send us some more? Because I'd love to. But hopefully, in the not too distant future, we'll be able to have it printed off as well. But it is online, always 24/7.
Which is wonderful. Yeah. And what's in this? What's the layout of this issue, for instance? What have you got in this? Tell us a little bit about the contributor.
Yeah, the August one. I try and keep a balance of more medical stuff, because there are obviously people who do need assisted reproductive treatment. So we have a really nice article from Cambridge IVF, which is an NHS clinic, who put an article together to compare the different treatments. So what is the difference between IVF, ICSI, IMSI, ovulation induction, etc. And another nice article on what is the difference between natural IVF and mild IVF, because as we know in the news, the first ever, as you well know, Helena, from talking to Louise Brown, that was a natural cycle, and there was no stimulation at all. And we've also got some information, another article in there on whether a day 3 embryo or a day 5 embryo is more likely to result in a pregnancy following IVF, ICSI, whichever. So I've got sort of medical articles like that, but I also really like the support articles. So we have a regular column from Kate, who's a fertility coach, and she's talking about when you should start asking questions. Again, I'm trying to put my memory back. We have Lorraine, who we tried to get join us today, talking about sort of preparing. So slow down and take at least 3 months to prepare your body, either for pregnancy or if you are doing IVF, ICSI, that sort of thing. And a very nice article on our friendships affected by infertility, which I'm on quite a lot of Facebook support groups, putting support on as me rather than as my fertility specialist magazine. And so many people, it just affects their relationships because all their friends are getting pregnant. And in Mandy's case, it did affect a very important friendship to her. So again, as I say, I try and keep a very good balance.
That's something that I've noticed a lot of women affecting relationships, that people, even staying away from family gatherings, family members. It's like going on a different trajectory. It changes that you're not, the people who got married or partnered up at the same time as you, they may be having a second or third child. They're living a different life and you've been kind of left behind or left out. People are a little bit awkward. And there's been a few people that I have treated or worked with whose husbands have had affairs or have been using a lot of porn or prostitution as well. So, there's a whole, demographic there that it really causes such rifts and such difficulties way beyond what it actually is. and people find that really, really hard to talk about. So that's what we're doing here, is breaking some taboos, and it's the reality of what infertility does and brings with it. And the fact of having a resource like yours, Sheila, where people can find out what other people are thinking, how they're coping, what, taking control of what they can do for themselves as well, and not feeling so isolated and out of it, really. So it's a fantastic resource. And the one thing that I absolutely love as well, as I keep saying, is your alphabet soup, because it is like learning another language, and you did that one really beautifully. And I think that one should be tweeting that one.
I need to get my technical help, i.e. my husband, to get that as a PDF document, so I can share it more than just in the magazine. But I will probably put it in the November issue as well, some add-ons, because as we all know, with this area, every day almost something new is coming out. So definitely, yeah.
It is. I suppose the shifting sands. There is a lot. I think. I'm just wondering, does anybody find it helpful? We heard all about Kim Kardashian. Tyra Banks is dealing with fertility issues herself. She's an American model, apparently a celebrity. That hearing so much about it, is that helpful? Or the fact that a lot of women who have these sort of miracle babies in their very late 40s and don't actually talk about either having donor eggs, donor sperm, or using surrogates. That sort of sense, does that put a little more pressure on people, or is it helpful? What do you think? Let us know. And if there's anybody who'd like to join in, hello, Bold Brilliant. Yes, I think you're finding that is helpful. Someone here asks, if IVF has failed 4 times and the issue is old eggs, someone's 36, is there anything else? Great idea for the magazine. What do you think, Sheila?
Personally, and I'm not an expert in that area, but 36 isn't that old. Wouldn't you agree, Helena?
Absolutely. And certainly I was at the ESHRA, the European Society for Human Embryo and all of this fertility in Lisbon. That was back in, only in June. And the exciting news there is that egg precursor cells that live in the cortex or the rind of the ovary are now being augmented by treatments. It's actually a company called Ovascience is doing a lot of research and work on boosting those. That it's kind of like nature has very cleverly with women given a supply of eggs, a store of eggs, but also makes new ones. So you're not stuck with elderly aging eggs or, your AMH is in your boots. No, your fault. I think that's been used to beat women around the head with for a long time. That fresh, new, lovely eggs can happen. 36, I don't think it's old at all.
No, I agree. I think perhaps, again, the article that Lorraine put in about taking some time back, and she used a really good analogy in the fact that a farmer wouldn't just go out to a field that hadn't been looked after regards growing a crop for 10 years, for example, 5 years even. And then they wouldn't go and get just seeds that had just been lying around. They would actually take some time to get that ground fertile, if you like. So for us, that would mean maybe some lifestyle changes, dropping the smoking, dropping the drinking, increase your water intake, that sort of thing, to get the womb, which would be the ground, in a good situation to receive
I totally agree with you there. In fact, my grandfather was an old GP, so he would have qualified in about 1921, and he used to always say good maternal soil. And I think the one thing that we have kind of gone on from there is the fact that the guys, it's 50% of the equation. Women take responsibility, don't they, for the whole fertility journey. But if you have really good, wonderful, as I call them, singing and dancing sperm that are really, really healthy, then I think, that is, the lessening the risk of miscarriage. That's a really, really important aspect. So it takes 2 to tango. Yeah. And I wonder if this lady's partner is older or has weight or, alcohol issues, or could do with a bit of a life audit. because it really is mixed pathologies when fertility issues happen, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And as well, I mean, if you've done four lots of IVF, it doesn't just come down to, as you say, the quality of the eggs. You know, there could be other causes. Again, everything in IVF, you know, when you're doing IVF costs. So, like we did the pre-implantation genetic screening, purely because my eggs were 40 years old then. So, you know, there are other things to look into, but very, very important. Women are getting pregnant naturally in their early 40s these days. And I know 3 months to get your eggs and get the sperm in, as you say, you know, all singing, all dancing, ready to do what they're supposed to do, seems like a long time when you're desperate for a family. But 3 months, you know, in a year's time, then you'll be holding your newborn in your arms. So to me, 3 months, you know, isn't that long when you think of, you know, it could actually work. I'm not saying it will do, but it's worth giving it a try before you go down the route of, you know, IVF or even ICSI or whatever.
I think sometimes people are inclined to forget, to get so caught up in the actual journey and the research, they're inclined to forget that they're actually planning a pregnancy. And that, you know, to go into a pregnancy really strong, really fit, really healthy and happy, and to prepare for the full 9 months. And that's what I always do, you know, as a fertility coach. I prepare people for a healthy pregnancy, a good, easy delivery, because I'm a hypnotherapist as well, and the early days of motherhood. Because something that's come up, I'm sure you've read about it, Sheila, is that mums who become pregnant after IVF are more at risk of developing postpartum depression, postnatal depression, or post-traumatic stress symptoms. And I think it's lovely. I really enjoy the fact that I can help prevent that, so that the early days of motherhood aren't daunting, and that someone can know it's okay to feel a bit tired, it's okay to feel a bit overwhelmed, but to have the help set up, to have supports in place, and to be a little bit gentle. And also the fact that you don't have to be, you know, superly duperly grateful at every moment. You're allowed to feel a bit sort of like, hey, what have I let myself in for? That you're the same as every other mother. And, you know, I think to give yourselves permission to be less than perfect is quite okay too. Would you agree on that one?
I absolutely would, and that is so nice. I wish I'd known you when I was going through it all. Because absolutely, and the thing is, I remember before I got pregnant reading that. So that sort of thing with people who are doing IVF and then having a baby could go through depression. You know, you think, why on earth would they be depressed after they've got what they want? But it's absolutely the same. And as you say, you know, it is a shock. I mean, it's a shock for the 9 months that you've actually got pregnant, and you're like, as someone put it on a Facebook page, I'd be like a deer caught in headlights for 9 months, which is exactly how you feel. And then you're like that for another 9 months afterwards, because, you know, you're so into getting pregnant. And then, okay, you're a month pregnant when you find out you are pregnant after having treatment. So you've actually only got 8 months to go. And they fly by. You know, I mean, I loved being pregnant, and I was convinced, being a midwife and being an older pregnant woman, I was convinced I was going to be like, you know, have preeclampsia and have everything going. I didn't even have morning sickness. But I put that down to 6 years of reasonably healthy eating and everything to get pregnant. So, you know, it as you say, it can keep you healthy during the pregnancy. And I won't talk about labour because that's a completely different story. I went totally wrong, but never mind. You know,
actually, interesting enough, that's something that I do. I'm there for the long haul. So that sense of preparing someone for whatever kind of delivery they're going to have, but also it's something that I'm seeing more and more of. And I think people are gaining courage now and talking about it, that birth doesn't always go to plan. And however your baby arrives, that's fine, you've got your baby. So this business of, you know, did you swing from a chandelier? Were you having a water birth? Where, you know, oh, well, I did blah, blah, blah. Or, you know, the sense of, oh, you had a section, or, oh, you didn't have a section, or whatever it is, you know, various trends and fashions, that you can actually get post-traumatic stress disorder symptoms after a delivery, even if it was, you know, what the staff might call fairly normal. you can still have a bad feeling. You can have felt you were treated badly, that you were in pain or you were sidelined. And these can linger. And it's something I really love because I do EMDR as well, as you know, and releasing that trauma in about maybe 2 or 3 sessions. And someone saying, I fell in love with my child, a child of 2. And I feel I've had that 2 years stolen from me. That nobody would listen. I wasn't depressed, and they told me I wasn't depressed, but I just had these flashbacks, nightmares, anger, and I felt I had done badly. So I do think that's something that we need to mind women more. We need to care for women right the way through and not isolate them into this sort of, the idea of perfection. The matching pram and, the lovely sort of Winnie the Pooh nursery and all of this kind of stuff. And if you're not doing that, you are failing.
Absolutely. And going back to what you were saying, a lot of people who have finally had a baby after treatment, or they have tried and had many years and then fell pregnant naturally and had a baby, but either way it hasn't been just like that, have quite possibly had a miscarriage or 2 or 3, and just the fact that yes, it might have taken them 4 years of trying and they didn't need any medical intervention, they then got pregnant, but you still have had, as you say, all that time, it is a grieving thing, and not, and even if you didn't miscarry when you did have fertility treatment, if you didn't get pregnant, you still had a negative pregnancy test. And no woman does a pregnancy test unless they think they're pregnant. So you go back to people who haven't been going through fertility issues. They don't every month get a test out and wee on it and see if they're pregnant or not. But when you do IVF and when you are trying, or any other treatment, when you're trying, you do that near enough every month. So there's a lot to deal with, as you say, even when you are pregnant and even when you haven't. You might feel guilty about the babies you lost or the babies, that weren't a positive pregnancy test. There's so much more to it.
Very, very true there, Sheila, because I think a lot of my clients would say to me that it's as if the horizon is in right here, that they are living life in 2 weeks after 2 weeks. There's the waiting and the hoping, there's the disappointment, and it just, it's really, really intense. And I think the other issue as well, something we don't really talk about much here in Ireland, is someone who might have had a pregnancy when they were really young, a teen pregnancy, early 20s, a pregnancy they may not have planned or particularly wished for, that might have ended in either miscarriage or termination. That women then coming 10, 12, 15 years later, ready for a family, and the absolute guilt and loss and grief is enormous. And it's something we do work through, and it's always lovely when someone becomes pregnant. And the latest studies showing that fertility can be switched on and off. That if somebody has a traumatic event in their childhood, as a sort of a safety mechanism, fertility may be literally turned off. So I always like to think of it as being just turned on again, and those issues being resolved and somebody being comforted and minded through that. Of course, they're going to be a wonderful mum, the best mum they can be, and that it's all right to do that. But that's something that I meet quite a lot of, and sometimes people have never told anyone that they were pregnant before. So it's a huge thing to share, and very brave, particularly in this country. So would you have met anything like that amongst friends or patients or colleagues or anything like that?
Really, personally?
Yes. Is it an issue? Are people more open? Are they able to talk about it in England more?
I haven't come across anyone like that, and I don't think I've got any friends like that, or anyone I know has been through something like that, to be honest. But I'm sure it is very common. I mean, I myself was married at 23, it ended in divorce. So it was then another 10 years later before I met my husband, before we were trying for a baby. So, although I hadn't been pregnant in the first marriage, And then that's another thing, isn't it? When you get secondary infertility, not so somebody has had a baby, so it's not been quite the same thing, but then that relationship is broken down and then they try with somebody else and expect it all to go hunky-dory, but it could well be 10 years later, and a lot happened in 10 years.
That's a great grief. That's a great sadness, because, you know, the sense of why us, why now, what's happened, what do we do differently? And the sense of, a lot of people will tell me that, you know, friends and family will say, oh, you're so lucky you have a child, and, you know, be happy with what you have. And people actually feel a guilt. You know, am I being greedy, wanting another child or two? And I know I should be happy, and yes, I love this child, but we would like more. And I think it was a French midwife. She was very, very ancient, Sheila. I was 21, very mature. And this ancient French midwife, she was 32. I laugh. And she, I remember, she was wonderful. And she, of course, this great accent. And she told me that it's harder not to have a second child than it is not to have the first. And it was years before I could compute what she was talking about. And I realized that it's such a strong urge anyway. But when you have a child, or two, or three, or four, and some people say, I'd like to keep going. I love being pregnant. I love babies. I'm good at this. When do you stop? And the feeling of regret, making decisions. So secondary infertility is really hard. Or if, you know, we have only recently, I shouldn't say discovered, divorce has come to Ireland eventually, and people in second relationships. So they may be with somebody who is older and has a family from a previous marriage, and they're ready now to have and it's like it's not happening. So that's very, very, very difficult. And it's relatively new in this country because, you know, people couldn't have remarried. It was hard even to break up before. So that is a whole new dynamic for us that's really quite challenging, is the secondary infertility.
Yeah, interesting.
So someone's saying here, I had a vasectomy reversal and became possibly the most fertile man in the UK. Well, congratulations, Rick. Delighted to hear it. Vasectomy reversal is very interesting. And I think we're having more of that here now with second marriages, second big relationships. And I do think that it needs to be done by a really qualified surgeon, that it is a very definite procedure because it's microsurgery, and the reanastomosis is really important because otherwise you get all sorts of peculiarities happening. So if it's done by someone who's experienced, it is wonderful. But it, you know, it can be devastating if it doesn't work out. Is there anybody else who'd like to come on and join us and add to this wonderful chat with Sheila?
We're not that scary, are we?
Hopefully not. Because we're still I'm getting to grips with blab. I do think it's a great forum, isn't it? It's great to be able to talk and see, and, you know, it's in real time.
Yeah, it is good because you wouldn't be able to have these, you know, you all have to get to the one place to have these conversations. I know there's things like webinars, but as you say, these can be, I mean, you only arranged this, an hour or so ago, didn't you? I was like,
I like to catch you on the hop. Like, come on. You know, I'd like to look forward, actually. I'd love to get Louise Brown. Yeah, actually, I hadn't thought of that because Louise has got her new book out. Have you read it?
I haven't read it yet, no. But I would really like to. But how did you get hold of her? That's what I want to know.
She's the most warm and approachable person you could imagine, and you know, it would be lovely because she really talks about you know, her birth, which was groundbreaking, and, you know, shockwaves and publicity. Her parents were down to earth, very ordinary people from the lovely town of Bristol, and, you know, they'd had a lot of difficulties, a lot of poverty, and they were so delighted. Her dad had 2 children, you know, in another relationship, and her mum, you know, put herself forward. She had to travel 180 miles to have her treatment. She had Louise, But what nobody really realizes is that a few years later, she picked up the phone and asked, "Can I have another one?" And she did. Louise has a sister who's IVF baby number 40. And I actually mean to ask her, what's it like for her? You get it, every time Louise has had a birthday, a milestone, the press are all outside, what's happening, what's it like for her? And say, what's it like for her sister? It's like, you're only number 40. Because I know that there's the first IVF baby in the States was, I think, about 2.5 years later, but still a first. And then the first baby, IVF baby in Australia. And they used to talk about in those days, test tube baby, which is a frightful term, I think. And a lot has changed since then. Yeah. And it's a much more comfortable procedure. It's a much more, I know it's difficult going through it, but the mechanics of it are a lot easier. They had to invent the instruments for Louise's mum to go through. Imagine that. So the book is fascinating. It's a funny read. It brings Bristol in the 70s alive. It's nice. It's very sweetly put together. It's totally unpretentious. And I think it sheds a lovely light on those wonderful pioneers who were very generous and very open and, properly researching in the most philanthropic way. So a lot of things have changed. People feel that sometimes the IVF is a big market. And of course, we know about share prices and various companies involved throughout the world that it is open to a lot of that. Whereas this is going back to the simplicity of what it was about. So it's a jolly good read, and it's, I have it here somewhere. Louise Brown, My Life as the World's First Test Tube Baby. It's well worth a read. Anybody else who's got anything to share as I peer down at the comments? And if anybody's tweeting this out, it's a really good thing to do. There's Tell a Little Bird up in the corner, and it's kind of nice to share. So is there anything else you wanted to add to that, Sheila? Anything else that is on your mind while you're here with me, my lovely guest?
Well, all I should have said with the magazine is that I'm always looking for real people's input, because that's what the main thing is behind the magazine. Yes, I need experts to give expert advice to people, but it's great to have people's stories. You can write it yourself. Or I haven't done it yet because everyone has actually written their own stories for the magazine for the previous issues. But I'm more than willing anyhow to get your your story, and of course it remains anonymous if that's what people want. That's entirely up to anybody. But also if you know of any events that are going on, because I try and have a diary of events covering the next 3 months that the magazine covers. For people, so it could be webinars, it could be telesummits, it could be a show like there's the Alternative Parenting show on Saturday. There's various shows going on later on this year as well in London and other places. I know there's a big event on in Ireland, isn't there? In October, hosted by the INUK.
Yes.
Yeah. So anything and everything to do with fertility, if you let me know, then I can put it in there and share it with everybody else. It is a global magazine, so online stuff is good.
And did you manage to find a man yet?
Oh, well, I do have a man.
For the magazine?
Not well, I have that. But I have actually found quite a few men, or their partners have offered them, offer up their experience. An article in the next issue is about how a man is still a man, even if he has fertility issues. Because that's really important, because yes, the people having fertility issues is not discussed, as we've already said, but it's even more not discussed when the chap has the issues. And there are a couple of men who have come out in the open, not many, and admitted that they had issues. And I always think, if you lined up 10 women and you lined up 10 men, would you actually know who had fertility issues? You wouldn't, because we've all got one head, generally 2 arms, 2 legs. Obviously, there are things when that's not true, but we're all the same, and so it doesn't matter whose issue it is, But obviously, that's like a lot of things. It's going to take a long time before that's accepted.
Because we notice with all the celebrities and all the news about, people having babies or, whatever is going on with their fertility issues, it's rarely that you actually get, guys talking about it, well, my fertility issue in our relationship type thing. So I think we need we either need a major movie star, a sports person, or a royal to speak up and speak out, and Hello Magazine or OK or one of these. I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon.
Well, who knows? But I haven't, unfortunately, got any celebrities in my article. But if you know a celebrity, I think when I was talking about this to someone, I believe, is it Jamie? The chef, Jamie Oliver.
Jamie Oliver.
He, I believe, had fertility issues.
Oh, really?
Don't quote me on that, but I know there was a well-known chef who did admit to having, and I'm sure.
Oh, because I often think, we all love Jamie Oliver. He's done wonders. I really felt so sorry for him trying to feed American children real food. That was challenging.
Mm-hmm.
But I think does he do anything with, I think it'd be really, really good actually in your magazine to see recipes or, kind of a whole nutrition angle. Wouldn't it be lovely if Jamie Oliver did a sort of eating for real, change your life by eating.
Yeah.
Particularly for fertility and for guys, because the way guys kind of think, oh, well, it's all about her.
I have got an article from Nurture Me in the next issue on, nutrition for fertility for men. So,
see, you're ahead of me.
Great line, like.
So that's really good, and the especially on Twitter, Sheila, tweeting these people and inviting them. Why not? Why not?
They know, can't they?
That's the lovely thing about all this social media stuff that I've only taken to fairly recently, is that people are within reach and people love connecting and they love being part of things and sharing. So, that's all ahead of you. I'm going to have to go now, as we say, dans un moment, because I do have to do a little bit of work, which I love. And, I have some really, really great clients. And I will wrap up now. And thank you very much for joining, Sheila. It's a pleasure. And it's really lovely to get to know you literally in the flesh. I look forward to the next issue. And we have Pearl and Rick and Bull Brilliant and Cindy and the Shuli and all of these lovely people. So do actually take a moment to follow each other, because obviously, if you're interested in fertility, it's really good to follow here on Blab and also on Twitter. They're slightly separate, even though they're pretty conjoined. And then that means you can actually get notification of different blabs happening. And Sheila, if you're planning a blab, give me a shout, because, even co-hosting, if it's a big blab, it's great to have a co-host, and Pearl is brilliant at that, because keeping an eye on the comments and tweeting it out is really brilliant and greatly appreciated.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's, as I say, we have been recording. So I think I'll take us off record now, otherwise it's going to be